Good day. This is your hillbilly historian coming to you with a very, very controversial comment today. I want to talk about psychology and sociology. You know, in 1598, Queen Elizabeth I, one of the smartest people on the planet, passed a law outlawing what she called false and crafty sciences. Now, involved in that was palm reading, astrology, popeism, witchcraft, uh, psychology, and sociology. Like I say, this is going to be a very controversial comment today. My position on this is that psychology and sociology is rated way beyond their value. They are false and crafty sciences. And I say they are sciences because sociology, you can study man's tendency to move this way or that way. You can study the mob, how they behave, and all that. Psychology, you can study behaviors, human behaviors, and all that, classify them, give them names and everything. And I always like to say, psychology only did three things right. They could observe human behavior. But hell, a child can do that. When I was teaching school, walking in the classroom, those 6, 7, 8-year-olds started figuring out immediately, trying to figure out what they could get away with this teacher. And you're standing there being totally analyzed by these children. So analyzing human behavior is not some kind of secret science. Now, one thing psychology did was they did classify these behaviors, and they gave them, this is number 2, they gave them really, really good names. Catchy names. Psychosis. You know, all that crap that they name everything, dual personalities, all that crap. They gave all these behaviors real catchy names. Third thing they did, they gave great material for horror movies, for Boris Karloff and Vincent Price and all these, Lon Chaney and all these horror actors back in the early 30s, Ruth Gordon and all these people. They got good material coming from the psychology. Because look at psychology. Psychology has been a horror story. You know, lobotomies, where they would surgically remove part of a person's brain. The biggest example of that was Joe Kennedy's children, Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy, who was president, Robert, who ran for president, assassinated, John was assassinated. Well, they had a sister that was hyper, somewhat a little bit retarded, but she had a great personality, real outgoing, and was a little bit of a behavior problem, but she had character, a personality. And Joe and his wife consented to have her go through the lobotomy experiment because it was experimental. And she just was a drooling nothing after that. Someone would have to constantly wipe her mouth. She had to be fed and everything after that. It just turned her into a just nothing. I mean, it was horrific what they did to this little girl. But anyway, Then psychology started giving us uh, shock treatments, electrical shock treatments, and insulin shock treatments. All kinds of horrific things. When I was young, before I started college, I spent a few months working at University of Kentucky Memorial Hospital, the Happy Beat Chandler Memorial Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky, and I as an aide in surgery, and I got to see one of these electrical shock treatments. And Jesus Christ, that's horrifying. And and they would actually treat people with this crap. And I used to ask. I had some psychiatric, psychological friends. And I used to ask them. I said, "Have you ever cured anybody? Name one person you've ever cured." Oh, that's not what psychology is about. It's not about curing. Then why the heck do you put a MD after your name? MD means medical doctor. It means you're supposed to be able to cure people, not experiment on them and destroy their lives with experimental surgeries and shocks and Jesus, horrific material. Sociology is another fake science. They can study, what types of people go to church, what types of people don't. They can categorize along those lines. But as far as psychologists and psychiatrists and sociologists being sworn in legally as an expert witness, I just can't believe the legal profession allowed that. They have a machine that can read your perspiration and temperature and all kinds of things about you physically to try to determine whether you're telling the truth or not. But that's not allowed into court as evidence. But they will allow these moronic, lying psychiatrists and psychologists and sociologists to testify as expert witnesses. And there's nothing expert about them. Not when you got a case and they got psychologists and psychiatrists on both sides of the case lying against each other. That should tell them right there that there's no expert and expert witness when it comes to that kind of crap. It's amazing. And I had a sociologist tell me one time that children never lie. And boy, that ain't the biggest crock of crap I ever heard. Children lie. They make up lies. I remember when I was a child, I was capable of telling a lie or two here and there when I didn't want to get caught at something. Oh, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. Children do lie. Children make up stories. And this child abuse phenomenon that we had in this country a few years back turned into an epidemic. You had big case up in Connecticut. You had the McDonald case in Los Angeles. You had the Little Rascals case in North Carolina. These kids were telling stories, and these adults were coming out of the courtroom as, part of the jury saying, well, you had to believe the children. The hell you say? You don't have to believe a word a child tells you. Especially when they talk about being on a pirate ship and made to walk the plank and all this kind of crap. Well, we had to believe that story that child told. No. Adults are supposed to rise above that foolishness and understand that a child is a child and they don't not have a developed mind. But they do have defense mechanisms built in. And children are easily coachable. that little rascal's case, they had a room in the courthouse where they were coaching the children as they testified or right before their testimonies. It was amazing what adults try to get away with and the way they'll use children to do it, to tell lies about their parents and stuff. It's amazing. It's amazing. But there's no expert and expert witness when it comes to psychology or sociology. Keep that in mind, folks. Like I said, this is going to be controversial. When they start proving in labs, and today's psychiatrists, psychologists, the only thing, today they're giving drug therapies, and it cures nothing. It heals nothing. It does not get away. It does not. All it does is hide the symptoms. It does not cure the patient from the problems they are having. And I've never seen a psychiatrist or psychologist or sociologist try to make a person grow up, make them aware of their, and to actually psychologically and physically overcome their psychological tendencies. I've had panic attacks. You just overcome it. I've had other, black side of my psychology, and you rise above it. You overcome it. You don't submit to those things. That's what trying to be an adult is all about, is overcoming your tendencies to do harm or to create havoc or chaos. You've got to grow up, be mature, and overcome that behavior. I just can't believe what goes on. These mobs out there on the West Coast and places where they throw fire bombs and destroy property and kill and murder. And it's, I'm sorry, that's not human behavior. That's not civilized behavior. And something needs to be done about all that. And it amazes me that people who are elected to positions actually defend those behaviors, criminal behaviors. It's horrifying. But anyway, psychology and sociology are two professions that you never trust. Never trust a psychiatrist or psychologist or sociologist. I had a sociology person tell me one time, she worked for a county, she said, teachers never evaluate children. What a horrifying statement. The teachers don't evaluate children. And I'm sorry, teachers do more evaluation than anybody. In fact, they evaluate children all day long. And every move that child makes, everything that child does is evaluated. All day long, all year long. Teachers are a lot better at evaluating children than sociologists or psychiatrists or psychologists. So anyway, this is your hillbilly historian giving you the insight into two false, and according to Queen Elizabeth, two false and crafty professions, sciences. And that law was so good, it lasted about 200 years. And then the psychiatrists, the progressives, brought psychology and sociology back with a vengeance. And they've been punishing us with their so-called science, been punishing mankind with their so-called science now for quite a while. But anyway, this is your hillbilly historian signing off for today, trying to enlighten you on currents in our culture and in our society that you won't read about in your high school or college textbooks. Good day.